Hi everyone. Still have energy? It was so cool, Tim. Really great presentation. I was the user of Tetris, but you know my age then because I'm still using the very so. Okay, introducing myself. I'm Christine from SingleStore. Maybe most of you never heard SingleStore before. That's why I'm here. I want to kind of like introduce what is SingleStore, and I'm in SingleStore for more than 2 years now, and I was from Oracle before 5 years, and then from Oracle I was in Adobe for around 3 years, and then I was in Salesforce Tableau, right? And then after in Tableau, I think almost 2 years, and then I heard about SingleStore. So they are explaining about SingleStore, and then this is something that is exciting. So that's why I'm on board with SingleStore, and they just opened the office for Asia Pacific in Singapore, right? So I want to make it more interactive. Like I want to like compete with him. That is gonna be more fun. So I just want to ask everybody here, right? When we talk about value, time, and data, can you make one line out of it? Like anyone can really make a very nice line related to value, time, and data. Anyone? It's very difficult. Very difficult, yeah. Okay, if maybe I will just give one more keywords. Real time, with real time, value, time, and data, and real time. Can anyone explain about it? Okay, maybe it's too difficult. I will give you more easier question later. So yeah, so what does it mean, right? It means related about value, time, and data. The more time that you take to get the data, the value of it is going to be like reducing, right? So it means real time is really important. When we talk about real time, means second, millisecond, right? If it's like 5 minutes after, it's disaster, or even like 1 day or like 5 days, right? So real time is really important, especially when we talk about um, modern application. Everybody here, maybe you love to build applications, right? And nowadays, when we talk about application, when we talk about modern application, right, we don't talk about like, oh, transactional application or analytics application. Normally, modern application means you can do transaction and analytics together in one application, right? So when we talk about modern application, real time is really important. So how to achieve real time in the modern application, where normally the data that we have are super complex, right? So this is something that is really important. And talking about modern application, what is the normal challenges, right, that we are facing? First, like what I mentioned, data size. Normally people, when they started, maybe the data is getting, still small, but the more the data is ingested, right, then you don't realize that your data is already becoming terabytes or petabytes of data. Then your modern application will start having definitely performance issue. Number two is the complexity, the queries that you have, right? Sometimes you have too many joins, too many aggregation, and then because of that, you can't even achieve like millisecond query performance. So this is something that is normally happen, right? The third one is the query latency in terms of the application that you have, for example, your analytics tool, right? How to get like millisecond latency on your application. This is something that is also challenging, right? And the fourth one is the concurrency. When we talk about concurrency, yes, like modern application, normally you expect your mobile apps, right, to be accessed to like many people, right? How to handle like 10,000, like 50,000 people accessing in the same time, right? So this is also some challenges in the modern application. And the last one is the speed of ingestion, right? When we are talking about streaming, right? So how we do like millions upsert per second, right, with your data, right? So these 5 application challenges in the application that I mentioned about, this is something that very common to companies like either startups or until enterprise, right? Because they really want to have a modern application. So what is SingleStore? So when I talk about SingleStore, so it's not a company that is just recently, right? Like very new. So it has been around since 2011. So it started as a MemSQL. It's a pure in-memory database. Interestingly, when we talk about in-memory database, you will know that it's gonna be like super fast because all of your data will be put in memory. But of course, cost-wise, it's gonna be very expensive, right? Along the way, because interestingly, a lot of customers, they are using MemSQL at that time, a lot of 500 Fortune companies like Goldman Sachs, Apple, right? Bank of America already using it since like early stage, right? So they have quite a lot of demands like, hey, your transactions are really good, right? But we need to move the data when we want to do analytics. Can you build columnar on top of it? So SingleStore take the challenge, and we have the solution now that we call it universal storage, where they do row store and column store. It means they can do transaction and analytics, but in one single table type. So this is the pattern that SingleStore has, that I think like most of the database at this moment, they don't do it, right? When we talk about a transaction database, either they are transactional database or analytics database. But SingleStore do the row store columnar in one single table type in 2015, right? And then in 2017, again, the customer like Siemens requesting them, hey, I need to do full text search. I don't want to buy another solution. Can you build full text search? And then one of the customers also Torn for the non-profit organization said, hey, I want to do face detection for child sex trafficking. Can you help to do factor, right? So we built based on the customer demand. So in 2017, when everybody now talking about factor, SingleStore already have factor embedded in the SingleStore itself, right? So when you see this, right, the SingleStore database becoming complex in a way that so many functions that you can use with SingleStore, we rebrand our name from MemSQL to SingleStore, one database for all. What does it mean? Not only SingleStore can be used for transaction, analytics, right? Factor, full text search, and also JSON. It means we are SQL and NoSQL together. So we can also do JSON analytics and another multi-models, right? So this is the story, and we are now unicorn status. So we are still in the startup stage, but like, as you can see, so many investors coming in, right? Coming from Khosla, Google Venture, IBM, Dell, HPE, including Goldman Sachs, right? So some of them are actually our customer. They use SingleStore, they love SingleStore, and then they invest. Goldman Sachs, IBM, and they are also using SingleStore, right? Okay, so I just want to summarize then what is SingleStore. So SingleStore is the database that can do transaction, analytics, and also contextualize data. It means factor is already included there, right? It's really interesting. What does it mean? It means when we are talking about transaction, it means we can ingest data, right? When we talk about ingestion, it means we are using row base, but automatically the row store can be moved to columnar automatically in real time. So when the data is from in-memory to disk automatically, at the same time, you can already query, right? It means you already can query it right away without you need to move the data first, wait OLTP first, ETL, and then all up. So no more that kind of story. So you can just move it directly to the columnar, right? And then in the same time, we are distributed SQL. So we are SQL and more like ANSI-SQL, right? So MySQL protocol, but we are also distributed SQL. It means that you can easily scale out, horizontal scalable. This is really good. Like, I mean, like most of the databases, like especially open source, when you just started it, I mean, you are very happy with that, but after a while, you cannot scale out. You will have issues on your application, then you need to create another cluster, right, to support. But for us, it's like horizontal scalable. You can add more leaf nodes along the way when your data is growing, right? And then from the columnar perspective, of course, when the data moves to this level, you can just run queries. But doesn't mean that, oh, it's in the disk, it means the query performance will be very slow, right? It's actually, we do like billions of data run on super complex query in milliseconds. So that's also very fantastic. And maybe I give you the role-based use cases, right? So there's one customer, Akamai, if you have heard the name before. They replace Oracle Exadata because of our ingestion speed. We do 12 million upset per second performance, right? And then when we talk about analytics, I give you an example of Bank of America, where they are actually using SingleStore for their machine learning credit card swipe. When I'm the customer, I go shopping. When I swipe my credit card, within 50 milliseconds, Bank of America can detect whether this is real or fraud. Before that, they are using legacies like a combination of Oracle, Cloudera, Teradata. It takes 15 minutes, but it's also still in the batch process, right? So that's the difference from minutes to millisecond performance. And the factor, right? We can do semantic search, keyword search, hybrid search, and we have also notebook like Jupyter. I give you an example of the nonprofit organization that I mentioned. The name is Thorn. So the founder is our Hollywood celebrity, Ashton Kutcher. Maybe everybody knows him. So what he did, right? So he want to find like a missing child, right? Because a lot of child sex trafficking happen in US. So what they do when there is a report from the police about missing child, so he take the picture of the child and then scan it towards all the advertisement on the black market, right? So before a SingleStore, they are using Cloudera, Hadoop. It takes more than 20 minutes per image, right? With SingleStore, it's only take 200 milliseconds per image. So within now, I mean, like around 4 years with SingleStore, they already save more than 20,000 childs in US. So that kind of impact that we are helping the community, right? And SingleStore can be deployed anywhere. So you can use SingleStore on premise if you still like you don't want to put your data on cloud, or you also can do it on cloud, of course. Like we are on AWS, GCP, Azure, and also you can do hybrid, private cloud, and etc. It means that, of course, we are on the marketplace. So if you already like Google customers, right, you can easily utilize SingleStore on the same billing, right? And then, yeah, the unique part, of course, we are SQL database, but we can be used for any data model, time series, geospatial, key values, full text search, factors, right? So it means like most of the customer, right, at this moment, because when they start small with maybe SQL database, and then, after a while, they realize that they need analytics. Then they buy, for example, additionally, my BigQuery, Redshift, right, or etc. And then, I need caching, I buy Redis. And I need a full text, I buy Elastic. And then I need this, that. And then they don't realize, only to support one application, they have like more than 5 databases underneath. Complexity will be there, right? Definitely performance will have impact because so many data movements happen, and also cost, right? Cost is something that gonna be very, very high. So that's the thing. So SingleStore under the hood, right? So how it happened? So I think some lines couldn't be shown here. So SingleStore, when we talk about ingestion, so we have our feature named pipeline. So the pipeline is actually, you can take the data from any data sources coming from any cloud buckets like S3, Google Cloud Storage, right? Or Azure Blob Storage, or Hadoop file systems, or Kafka for streaming. So you can ingest the data to SingleStore right away. Or if we talk about database to database, MySQL, MongoDB can be ingested right away without any data changes, right? So it's very straightforward. Or any file system, as long as the data source is on the CSV, JSON, packet, Afro format, you can just ingest directly to SingleStore, right? And for another databases that is not open source, they don't want to talk to each other. So we need to use ETL, right? So you can utilize any ETL in the market like Talent, Pentaho, Informatica. You can utilize anything, because we are as a MySQL protocol. So if they can connect to MySQL or MariaDB, they can connect to SingleStore using ODBC JDBC connector, right? So yes, you can ingest using our pipeline. So when you ingest the data, so we will start using the in-memory capabilities, right? We are using skip list indexing, we call it. So start with, I think some rows cannot be shown here. So yeah, ingesting on the row store, and then automatically converted to columnar in real time. And then easily you can do query, right, in real time. So, and then once the data is ingested, memory, and then move to the persistent cache on the disk, and then some core data that you don't want to keep it in the disk, you can also push it down to the cloud object storage. So we call it 3-tier architecture. So this is also something that is very good, one of our feature, because it means cost-wise, right, TCO-wise, you don't need to spend so much money on like pure in memory or just memory and disk, because archive data, you can push it down to the cloud object storage, but then you still can query the data, right, automatically. And then, of course, SingleStore distributed SQL. So it means when we talk about building the cluster, right? So we are having the master aggregator, child aggregator, and the leaf nodes, right? And then maybe you can start with 4 leaf nodes, and then you can add more leaf nodes when the data is growing. And then you can easily connect SingleStore to any analytics tool, your own in-house or Tableau, Power BI, Looker, or anything that you have. And then, of course, user can easily connect to the analytics tool, right? But what makes us unique compared with others, right? It means when we talk about analytics, sometimes because the process is too far from another databases, so the analytics tool will have impact. So sometimes I came from Tableau. So why I moved to SingleStore? Because a lot of Tableau customer came to me say that, hey, when I open Tableau, it takes a while, like maybe more than 1 minute to just open one dashboard, right? Sometimes 5 minutes. And there is another insurance company, they don't even can open the dashboard anymore because the workload is too heavy, right? How to solve it, right? So this is where we can really improve the performance of the analytics tool. So the problem is not about we are better than another database, right? But it's about customer has pain or not on the like dashboard, right? Or the analyticals or the application, transactional application, like customer complain that when they're doing transaction, like check out from the cart, right? And then when they just want to do transaction, it takes a while. So this is the one that we want to improve the performance, right? So I already talked about this. So yeah, the multimodal I mentioned to you that we can do SQL, geospatial, unstructured, full text search, key values, JSON, time series factor. One thing that I want to highlight about JSON, a lot of customers started with MongoDB, right? It's a very good database for transaction. But when they're trying to run analytics on MongoDB, sometimes they have challenges on the performance. It's like a little bit slower, right? So SingleStore, because we can ingest data from MongoDB, sometimes you don't need to replace MongoDB if you are already loving whatever you already built on your application on Mongo, right? So you can move the data in real time to SingleStore and run analytics on SingleStore using our SingleStore connector. And then you can see much faster performance of your JSON, right? Like more than 200% faster with SingleStore. Yeah, we call it the MongoDB API, right? So that's the one. So how to start SingleStore, right? I mean, like some of the developer maybe think, right? So there are 3 kind of way how to do it. The first one is build new. It means if you have a new application, modern application that you want to build, so you can think about SingleStore. It's for scalable. It means you start now small, but you can easily, when you have more use cases, you don't need to buy new databases to just support like small use cases that you have, right? So, and for your GenAI application, maybe you are thinking about creating that. Definitely we have Factor. So you can easily connect single source to your LLM model that you like, and then you can create any chatbot or any GenAI application that you like, right? So we have so many webinars and like tutorial on how to make GenAI. So I have some books. Actually, I want to do a Q&A, but I think I'm just too much explanation on this and forget to ask questions. So maybe later I only have 10. Maybe later we can do some little games to get that. Yeah. So this is about factor database and AI application for dummies. Maybe you guys would like to have it, right? So yeah, so that's one. And the second one is augmentation for speed. It means sometimes you don't need to change whatever you already have, right? But because you have pain on your application, either your beautiful modern application on the transaction or on your analytics, like your dashboard, right? So we can be in one layer on top of what you already have to boost the performance. Like for example, we have so many Snowflake customer or BigQuery customer. The data warehouse is already huge, right? To move like your database from 1 to 2 is not easy. I mean, sometimes it's emotionally difficult, right? But we know like some heavy workload is already it's just because of certain data, right? So you can easily move out the data that is super heavy to SingleStore and keep the rest to your own, right? To keep it to BigQuery or keep it to Snowflakes. So that's what we did to some of our customer, including in Singapore. Like there's one Snowflakes customer. So just because there's a heavy workload that is happened in their Snowflakes, right? So they just move one like maybe like 1/10 of the data to SingleStore, and then they run it on SingleStore. So the good things is performance is increased, the cost is reduced, right? So that's the one that, because for Snowflakes and BigQuery, they do auto scaling. So that's a bit difficult because sometimes they want to get higher performance, but they need to pay more, right? So that's the one that we can do. And the last one is modernize. If you really think that I'm tired to kind of like having too complex environment, right? So you can easily consolidate your database and replace it to single source. So normally when the customer have Postgres plus ETL from, and then plus, for example, Redshift or BigQuery, so it actually can be replaced with SingleStore, right? When they are ready to do that, or some legacy database, like they're already using it for ages, it's already sunset, or yeah, you can do the replacement, or open sources that you cannot scale out anymore. So you can also replace it with SingleStore, right? So yeah, this is just an example. When you start creating application, we'll start with one cluster, and then after that you don't realize you keep on adding more and more, and the cost is getting higher and higher, right? So SingleStore, because we deliver speed, because we combine OLTP and all that, and we can do scalability because of our distributed SQL, and the simplicity because we can do everything in one, right? So definitely you can see the difference, right? With SingleStore, you can easily supporting your application until like petabytes of data, right? Like I'll give you an example of Goldman Sachs. Actually, their data with SingleStore is already more than 50 petabytes, right? All the dashboard or the analytics running on SingleStore, like maybe the richest men and women. Last time I said the richest man on earth seeing the dashboard on SingleStore, and then the guy was saying, why only men? Why the woman is not rich enough? Or I think, okay, woman and men, they are reading the dashboard on SingleStore. Also like Apple, right? Apple, all the sales dashboard before SingleStore, when they want to know from HQ, right? How many iPhone sold in that day, they only get it like day plus one. They couldn't get it real time. So now with SingleStore, of course, they can do it in real time, right? So that's the use case. And of course, because we are MySQL protocol, you can easily connect us with any technology in the market, like any BI tools, any machine learning, any observability, right? Any data governor, and etc. CDC streaming. So we are very friendly, and you can also utilize us in any platform partner that you like, right? So this is some technology ecosystem that you can think about when you are developing that applications like developer tools or language that you want to use, right? Analytics tools, ETL, etc. Okay, so this is just the last slide. What I want to say is it's not about we are better than any other databases, but we just want to say that if you want to have like a real-time application, right? So you can think about simplicity, right? To get the speed, right? And then of course to easily scalable with like one single database to support that. And of course we have so many customers. They're already using us. A lot of like 500 Fortune companies, like Adobe, Palo Alto. So the Palo Alto cybersecurity Prisma, right, is powered by SingleStore. Adobe using it also for the document, right? And also a lot of fintech, martech, adtech, because for them, their bread and butter is the modern application. So they are selling the application to the customer, so they need speed, right? And then they also need to control the costs with with the SingleStore. And you can easily download SingleStore for free to try it out. So SingleStore, we have a free tier license. So we don't call it open source. It's actually it's a free tier where you can use us for like any development, just for testing and etc. Once you are really liking it and you want to onboard, and then of course you can upgrade it to the enterprise. Any questions, or is it already enough time to ask question, or? Of course, yeah.
What is the performance?
Performance, yeah. Of course, in terms of SingleStore performance itself, yeah. So we can declare ourselves fastest database in the market for both transaction and analytics. Why I said that, right? When we talk about fastest transactional database, a lot of database in the market say that. Like maybe I can say, yeah, MongoDB is really fast on transaction, but we are the fastest database for both transaction and analytics. Because for analytics, yes, maybe some database say they are fast, like maybe BigQuery, right? Or maybe Snowflake say the same thing. Everybody say the same thing. But when you talk about application that is can do transaction and analytics, you can test us out where we are actually fast from both sides. Yeah. Yeah.
So how does it far more better than Snowflake?
Okay.
Yeah. Because Snowflake user.
Oh, okay.
We just onboarded a year before.
Yeah. So okay. I just give you an example, right? Because technically, maybe my solution engineer can explain better. We just there's one customer just on board, and they're happily for me to mention what is the name of the company. It's Airlabs. Airlabs is actually e-commerce based in Singapore, but they're also operating in Indonesia, not Indonesia, but Thailand, Vietnam, Philippines, right? So because they're e-commerce, the data size is still not too big because it's a startup. But the problem with them is the super complex query, because they're connecting the query. I think one query is like 3 pages, right? Connect to Lazada, TikTok, Shopee, right? So with SingleStore, the problem with them is actually the auto scaling, right? If they want to have a better performance, they need to upgrade the SML, right? The sizing of Snowflake. So because of that, they say I need to pay double to Snowflakes. I think for startup like us, we cannot afford it anymore. So I need to find alternative. So they found SingleStore, and we do POC. So interestingly, we are 20 times faster in terms of that complex query, like up to 20. So we always do testing on like top complex queries, right? So we are up to 20 times faster. And the unique part why we are faster, because for example, because we are our engine is already pure speed, right? Pure speed, it means first run, second run, third run is stable. We are very fast, like millisecond performance. But with Snowflakes, first one, it will take longer. And then very fast, right? So when you change a little bit of the attribute on your query, they will count it as a new query again, and it becomes slow again. And for us, the stability of query 1, 2, 3 is the same. So yeah, so it's proven that we are faster than Snowflakes. And the bonus, we are one-third the cost. So not only they get 20 times faster, but also lower cost.
One of the commercials in the open website.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, I can explain to you also later. Any more question? Maybe the one who asked question, you can give the book. Yeah, so any more question to get the factor database book? Free books. Any more question or just want to say hi to get the book?
You can come help you later.
Yeah, sure. All right then. Thank you everyone. If any question, just come to us. Yeah. Thank you.